What's up everyone, I'm Makak from Room 51 and this is Teach the Teach on the Dice Tower, where I teach you how to teach a board game, and in this video I'll be covering Pendulum. Now, this is a how to teach video, meaning I am assuming you already know how to play this game and now you're looking to teach it to other players. There are plenty of ways to teach games. This is just a way that has worked for me and could possibly help you out if you have any sort of difficulties teaching games or this game in particular. I know that Jamie Stegmaier came out with his own how to teach video on this game and it was awesome. There are some things that I will change in here that I do a little bit differently, but you might notice some overlap, which is fine. So just to start off, I always start off with the three main things, right? So the story behind the game, the objective, and how the game ends. So the story behind this game, right? You're in this kingdom, you're nobles, and you're trying to pretty much vie for power. The objective is where this game gets a little interesting, right? Because the way you win is sort of by qualifications. So I try to explain that to players. That way they best understand what they're trying to do in this game, how to win it. So on their player aid, or their player board, I just say that pretty much what you're trying to do is get all four of your tracks into the parchment here. If you've done that, you most likely have won the game. There's certain tiebreakers, and we'll get into that in a minute. Otherwise, if nobody's gotten into this parchment, the next qualification is, did you get your artifact into this parchment? If so, you might have won, right? And it's pretty much you telling them, like, there's a balance to this game. You want to balance the tracks. You want all four of these tracks to get as close or into the parchment as possible. It's pretty much just no track left behind. That way they understand, like, okay, the objective is get all four tracks into the parchment or as close as possible, and at the very least, get your artifact into this parchment in order to qualify for winning. And then you get into ties a little bit later. And then the way the game ends, it ends after 4 rounds. You just let them know you've got 4 rounds to do just that. And I always try to get players playing as quickly as possible. This game is a little bit difficult because it is worker placement and it's got a timed element. But I will get into that in a minute because there's certain things you pretty much have to tell them everything. You have to teach everything before really getting into the game, which I don't usually like to do. You don't have to absolutely explain everything, and I'll get into that, but you have to explain a lot. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a way that it is as brief as possible, but also to make sure that players are understanding what is going on. But first, what I do is I tell all the players to play on the, I guess, basic mat, not the advanced side, the basic side. For a number of reasons. One, it could feel a little less like a struggle for them to get their head wrapped around things and to also puzzle out what they're trying to do, because the stats on this side are a little more forgiving. Also, the starting hand of cards that they get is it's a little bit easier to use. It's more straightforward. So those are the couple of reasons why I would start off with the basic side. It doesn't change all that much when you go to the advanced side, but it's a lot more puzzly. So to avoid, I guess, frustration, that's why I would use the basic side. Now I'm going to direct your attention to the board, show you the table, and we're going to get right into how I teach this game. So the first thing I do is I let players know that this is a worker placement game with a timed element, but it's also an engine building game. So I go into their player board again and I say, take a look at the 3 different symbols. I ignore the gray for right now, but these are the 3 tracks we're going to focus on for now. And there are different ways to move these up on the board here. So I direct their attention to the different boards here, or the spaces here that have like the red, there's the yellow, the blue. These are different ways that you can move your pieces up on the track. However, there's also over here, this is where the engine building comes in. And I say to them that you have these different banners here, right? There's brown, red, purple, and yellow. And you're going to have these artifacts get tucked into or under these things, and it's going to produce some sort of engine where you could gain more resources. You could also gain different ways of moving these things up on the track. And then you could also let them know about the limit of cards that could be placed here. I say this to them that way they know what they're trying to go for. They know what they're looking for in the game. I then let them know just about how worker placement in this game works, that, you know, over here is the cost in these arrows. This is the cost to take the action, and then down here are the benefits. And then I direct their attention to the different quadrants here, right? So there's the purple, the green, and the black quadrant. And the purple, I let them know that that is the place that will take the most amount of time for workers to do something. So you probably don't want to go there all that often to, get those engines running, I guess. But the black and the green area, they're going to go off much more frequently. And that's when I started explaining the different symbols, right? Where you could gain the benefit of your yellow banner, or the red, or whatever it might be, wherever you are. That's the banner. It allows your engine to go off there. You could gain resources. I turn their attention to the artifact. This is where you could gain artifacts to tuck under your board. I let them know that this is gain any one resource. And then finally, I let them know that this symbol means that you're going to gain votes. And I usually tell them that the votes are going to go towards the council round, and I'm going to go a little bit more into that in a bit. But first, I tell them, okay, this is how the timed element of this game works. So, first, you show them the two different kinds of meeples they could have, the two different workers. And I let them know that there's the grande worker, and then there's the regular worker. For those who are familiar with viticulture or such, they'll know pretty much how this works. But if they don't know, you pretty much just say that your little worker, it has usual worker placement rules where, another player can't go somewhere you're at, except for down here in the black space where anybody can go to it's unlimited. You want to let them know that this is unlimited, but green and purple is limited. So, and that's specifically for the regular meeple. The grande worker, you just let them know how you could pretty much go somewhere that somebody else is, even if it's also a grande worker. And that's when you let them know about the timed element. And you explain to them just, where you could place meeples, where it could go where there's no timer, or if there is a timer, that means the action can take place. And pretty much letting them know that the worker is locked if the timer is there, right? So you can't move your worker out of that space. It's locked there. That's when I start to talk to them about votes and what votes do for you. Just letting them know about how it will influence when you get to go in the next round, like turn order, and then what sort of benefits you gain. And then that's also when I talk about this achievement card, where this is how you gain an artifact. That's the most common way to gain an artifact. And if you don't gain that during the game, there's going to be a chance at the end where you have to spend a certain amount of resources and things like that. But after that, I reiterate, okay, these three different quadrants. And this is, so the way I'm going to explain this, I say, okay, so in the purple quadrant, that's where usually your brown and your purple banners can go off. So you want to reiterate to them, that doesn't go off as much as green and black does. So you want to be aware of that. The green quadrant is where your red banner is going to go off, and the black quadrant is where you could get your yellow banner to go off. And and you can even let them know, like, yellow is pretty much the easiest one to go off, red is second easiest, and then brown and purple are the more difficult ones to pull off. This is just to get to have them get a sense of, okay, what each quadrant does, where I want to go, because things are timed, things are going a little bit quickly. Although the first round, and I know that some people feel you shouldn't play timed for the first round with new players. I play timed because I feel like the first round, it's pretty slow anyway, right? Like, you place your meeples out, you do your action, and then you're kind of waiting, and now that's the time for you to think and see what your next move is. If you want, you could play the first round or so without the timed mechanism, but I don't see a problem playing with it. Then finally, I let them know about how round ends, where when you turn over this purple thing, you knock off these, I guess, little timer meeple things. And once the last one is off, no timers turn over or anything. You take your last actions, and then that is it. And that's the end of the round. So once players have finished taking up their actions and everything, that's when you tell them about the voting and letting them know that, okay, you add up the votes, see who goes first, what benefits everybody gets, and that's when you actually start to explain these cards and how now you get priority in taking cards. If you're first, second, third, whatever, you want to explain what each of these symbols mean. If it, so something like this is instant, this goes into your hand. And then whatever abilities don't seem very self-explanatory, if players don't know, you just tell them what it means. And that's pretty much it. So I will meet you back at my face. So that's how I teach Pendulum. I really try to make sure that players understand the qualifications for winning, the flow of the game, and the different quadrants and what will make certain parts of your engine go off. That way they're not freaking out and are frazzled by the board state and literally trying to search, okay, where's that space that I want? Because it is a timed game, so they might feel a little frazzled by that. But hopefully that helps. Please let me know down in the comments below how you teach this game, or if you have any sort of questions or comments. I would love to know. I'll catch you next time.